There is a small, dark thing latched to the back of your knee. You found it in the shower, after a walk through the high grass and the brush along the fence line, and at first you thought it was a fleck of dirt, until you tried to brush it off, and it did not move. It is no bigger than a sesame seed, swollen tight, head buried in your skin, and the thing that ought to make your stomach turn a little is not the bug itself. It is what that bug can carry sickness that can lay a strong man down for a year. My name is Silas Crane. I'm a hill man. My people have worked this hollow since before the power lines ever came up the mountain, and I have walked the worst tick brush in these mountains for 60 years and pulled maybe 4 off myself in all that time. Now the part that ought to make you a little angry is this. There is a whole shelf at the store of sprays and clip-on gadgets and smoking candles, and a man in a truck who will treat your whole yard for $200 a season, and most of it is selling you the wrong fight in the wrong place. Stay with me. By the end of this, you'll know exactly what the old men did to walk clean through tick country, what it costs a few dollars in 10 minutes, and which of the famous tricks are flat-out worthless, and which one is downright dangerous. But first, you have to understand one thing, because if you don't, none of the rest will hold. Here is what most folks get wrong. They treat the tick like a mosquito. They think if they spray enough of something smelly on their arms, the tick will keep its distance, the way it might turn a skeeter aside. But a tick is not a mosquito, and it does not fight that fight. A tick does not fly. A tick does not jump. A tick cannot leap onto you from a tree, no matter what your neighbor swears he saw. It does one thing, and it does it patient. It climbs to the tip of a blade of grass or the end of a low branch, down where your boots and your breeches go, and it holds on with its back legs, and it reaches out into the air with its front legs, and it waits. Hours, days, even, waiting for something warm to brush past. The men who study these things call it questing. And the moment your pant leg touches that blade of grass, the tick lets go of the grass and grabs hold of you and starts to climb. So the whole game, the entire thing, comes down to 2 jobs: keep it from getting a hold of you in the first place, and find it and get it off before it has time to dig in. That is it. Everything I am about to tell you serves one of those 2 jobs. Get a hold of that idea, and the rest is simple as splitting kindling. Now let me tell you how I learned it, because I did not figure this out of a book. My granddaddy was a man named Earl Hatcher, and every Saturday of the warm months Earl walked the whole property line, the fence, the creek bottom, the edge of the woods, where the brush grew thick and the deer bedded down in the heat of the day. That brush was crawling. And Earl came back clean, every single time, while the men who hunted those same woods came home, spotted with them, picking at their ankles on the porch. I asked him once how he did it. He did not say a magic word, and he did not have a bottle of anything special. He had a way of dressing and a habit of checking, and one thing he kept on his boots that I will get to directly, and that was the whole of it. The old men in this hollow did not have a chemical company on retainer, and they did not have a truck in the driveway every month. What they had was common sense handed down the line, father to son, and it worked better than anything you can buy. So let me start with the dressing, because it is free, and it is the thing most folks skip. A tick climbs up. It almost always grabs you low the boot, the ankle, the shin, and then it crawls upward, slow and steady, looking for warm, soft skin to settle on. So you give it the hardest road you can. Tuck your pant legs down into your socks. I know exactly how it looks. Earl looked the same way for 60 years, and Earl never itched a day for it. When the cuff is tucked down into the sock, a tick that lands on your boot has to climb the whole way up the outside of the cloth, out in the open where you can see it, instead of slipping up inside your trouser leg in the dark where you never will. And here is the second free trick: wear light-colored clothes when you go in the brush. Khaki, tan, light gray. A tick is dark, near black, and against pale cloth you can spot the little thing crawling before it ever reaches your skin. Against dark blue jeans it is plumb invisible until it has already bitten you. The Flatlander buys a $40 bottle to spray on his arms and his neck. Up here we tucked our breeches into our socks and wore a pale shirt and watched our own legs as we walked. No disrespect in it, but the old way costs nothing, and you can do it this very afternoon before supper. Now hold on, because the next part is the one that actually stops them cold, and it is the closest thing to a real shield that you can buy with money. It is a chemical called permethrin, and I want to be careful and plain with you here, because this one has a hard rule attached to it, and it matters. Permethrin is made to go on your clothing and your gear, your boots, your socks, your pants, your hat, the cuffs especially, and it is not for your skin. It says so right there on the can, in plain print, and you follow that can to the letter. You spray it on the cloth, out in the open air, you hang those clothes up outside on the line, and you let them dry all the way through before you ever put them on your body. Dry, not damp. When it has dried and bonded into the fabric, it is odorless, and you'd never know it was there, but a tick that crawls across that treated cloth gets a dose that knocks it senseless and kills it before it ever finds a way to your skin. One good treatment lasts through several washings. The label will tell you exactly how many, and you believe the label, not me. You can buy a bottle of the spray at most any hardware store, a farm and feed store, the sporting goods aisle, for about $10 or $12, and one bottle treats 2 or 3 outfits. Now, I will be honest with you, the way I would be with a man leaning on the other side of my own fence. This is the one store-bought thing in this whole talk that I will tell you flat out works, and works well, and is worth the money. The old men did not have it. If Earl had had it, he'd have used it and been glad, but the rule stays, and it is not a suggestion on the cloth, never the skin, dried full before you wear it, and you read that label like it matters, because it does. Let me stop here a moment, because now we come to the famous tricks, the ones everybody passes around, and most of them are worthless, and one of them will hurt you. This is the part the shelf down at the store would rather you did not think too hard about. First, the sprays they sell to mist on your skin and your yard that are made of nothing but essential oils, cedar oil, rosemary, lemongrass, the ones that smell like a candle shop when you walk by. Folks swear up and down by them. I have tried them more than once. Here is the honest truth of it. They do a little, for a little while, and then they quit on you. The oil cooks off in the sun and washes off in your own sweat inside of an hour, and the tick comes right back to questing on the very blade of grass you just walked past. There is some small grain of truth buried in them. I won't sit here and say there is none at all, but they are sold to you as a shield, and they are not a shield. They are a smell. If a man tells you he sprayed lemongrass on his socks and walked the deer woods all day and came home clean, I would gently ask him how careful he was actually looking when he got home. Because I got fooled by that very thing myself, for a couple of summers running, thinking the smell was doing the work, when really it was that I happened to be checking myself close in those days. So do not bet your skin on an oil. Bet it on the tuck, the pale cloth, the permethrin on the boot, and the looking. And the garlic. Somebody always brings up the garlic. Eat enough garlic, or take the pills by the handful, and the ticks won't touch you. Your skin'll smell wrong to them, they say. I have heard it my whole life, from people who mean well. It does nothing. Nothing for ticks, anyhow. You can eat a whole braid of it off the rafter, and walk into that same brush and come out just as spotted as the fellow who didn't touch a clove. Save your garlic for the pot. It is a fine thing in a pot. It is no good at all on a tick. Now the dangerous one, and I want you to truly hear me on this, because this is the trick that gets passed around the most, and it is the worst thing you can do. When a tick is already dug in good, head buried under your skin, the old advice, and you will still hear it today from people who mean only to help, is to make it back its own self out. Burn it loose with a hot match, or smother it, cover it over with petroleum-jelly, or paint it with nail polish, or drown it in cooking oil so it cannot breathe and has to pull its head out for air. Do not do any of that. I will not do it, and I will not tell you to. Here is why, and it is the whole reason. When you torment a tick that is already biting into you, burn it, smother it, get it agitated and panicked, you make it do the one thing on this earth you least want it to do. It gets stressed, and it spits back into you. It dumps the contents of its own gut right down into the wound, and that gut is exactly the place where the sickness lives. So you have taken the small chance that it was carrying something bad, and with your match or your jelly, you have pushed that something straight up into your blood. No match, no jelly, no polish, no oil. Let me show you the right way instead, the slow way, the boring way, the way that works every time. You get yourself a pair of fine-tipped tweezers, or better yet, a little plastic tick key. They cost $2 or $3, and they slip right onto a keychain or hang on a nail by the back door. You take that tool and you get down low, right flat against the skin, and you grab the tick by the head, not the fat body, mind you, the head, right down where it meets your skin. And then you pull, steady, straight up and away. No twisting, no jerking, no yanking it off sideways. Twisting can snap the head clean off and leave it buried in there, which is the very thing you're trying to avoid. Just slow, firm, even pressure, pulling straight away from the skin, and you hold it like that until it lets go its grip. It comes out whole and clean. Then you wash that bite with soap and water, dab it dry, and you are done. That is the whole of it. A $2 tool, 30 seconds, no fire, no fuss, no panic. Drop the tick in a twist of tape or down the drain, and if you are the careful kind, stick it to a piece of tape and write the date on it in case you ever have cause to show a doctor what it was that bit you. Now hold on, because we have done the body. Let me show you the yard, because this is where the old men were smartest of all, and where the man in the white truck makes most of his money doing the thing exactly backward. The fellow pulls up and sprays your whole green lawn, corner to corner. But ticks do not live in your mowed lawn. They cannot live there. The open lawn is too hot and too dry for them. A tick out in the middle of a sunny, cut yard dries right up and dies in a matter of hours. Ticks live in the shade, in the leaf litter, in the tall grass, in the brush and the bramble at the edge of the woods, where it stays cool and damp. So you do not need to go poisoning the whole yard at all. You need to do two simple things. First, keep the grass mowed short, especially out toward the tree line, so there is no tall, cool grass standing there for them to climb up and quest from. And second, you lay a barrier, a strip of dry wood chips or pea gravel, about 3 feet wide, right along the line where your good lawn meets the woods or the tall brush. That dry strip is a desert to a tick. They will not cross 3 feet of hot, dry, sun-baked chips to get from the cool shade over to your grass. A few bags of mulch, a few dollars a stretch, against $200 a season for the truck, every season, forever. The Flatlander pays a man to come fog the whole place every month. Up here, we just drew one line that the tick will not walk across, and then we left it be. And there is the old natural help, too, the kind Earl set great store by, though I will be square with you about it. Guinea fowl will eat ticks by the hundreds. Those birds will walk your whole yard all day long picking it clean. And the opossum that everybody runs off with a broom is one of the best tick-eaters in these woods. He grooms them off himself and eats them by the thousands over the course of a season. Now, I won't stand here and tell you to go and keep a flock of guineas. That is a whole other day's talk, and not everyone is set up for the noise and the bother of it. But know this much. When you see a possum crossing your yard at dusk, slow and homely, that is not a pest to be run off. That is a free hired hand doing your work for you. Leave him be, and tell the grandkids to leave him be. Then, last of all, the easy one that folks always forget. When you come in from the brush, before you ever sit down on your good chair in the front room, you strip those clothes off and put them straight into the dryer on high heat for 10 good minutes before they go anywhere else. Not the washer mind that the washer runs lukewarm, and a tick can ride right on through a wash cycle alive and well. It is the dry heat that kills them. 10 minutes, hot and dry, and any tick that rode home tucked in the seam of your breeches is dead. And then you do the check, and this, right here, is the part Earl Hatcher never skipped, not one single day. You look, at the end of every day in the warm months, you check yourself over, head to foot, and you pay mind especially to the soft, warm places a tick likes to crawl to and settle behind the knees, around the waistband, up under the arms, along the hairline, behind the ears. A tick that is found and pulled in that first day, before it has been dug in good and long, hardly ever has the time to pass anything along to you at all. The looking is the whole battle won or lost. Because the men who got sick were not the men who got bit, everybody who walks the brush gets bit sooner or later. It was the men who did not bother to look. Let me be plain about one serious thing, and then I will let you go on about your day. Ticks can carry real sickness, Lime, and a few others by name, and I am no doctor, and this here is not doctoring, and I'll not pretend it is. If you pull a tick off, and then days or even a few weeks later you come down with a spreading rash, a red ring around the spot, a fever, aching joints, a flu in the warm season when there is no flu going around, you go and see a real doctor, and you tell him plain that you had a tick on you. Do not sit on it and hope. That part is above my pay and clean outside my fence, and I would be doing you wrong to pretend otherwise. So that is the old way, the hollow way, the whole of it. Tuck your breeches down in your socks, wear light cloth, treat your boots and your pants with permethrin off your skin and dried full, draw a dry barrier at the wood's edge, mow it short, throw your clothes in the hot dryer, and look at yourself every single night of the warm season. No spray on your bare skin worth a dime, no garlic, no match, no jelly, no polish, no oil, just a $2 tweezers and a slow, steady, straight pull. A few dollars and 10 minutes a day, set against a whole year of misery. That is the whole game, and Earl Hatcher walked clean through the worst brush on this mountain his entire long life, knowing nothing more than that. Next time, I am going to show you the one plant my granny grew along the path down to the spring house that kept the snakes from ever lying up by the door what it is, and the honest truth of whether it really works or whether the old folks just like the smell of it on a summer evening. It is the natural next step after today. Until then, stay dry, stay watchful, and remember, the folks who settled these mountains with their bare hands knew things we are only just starting to remember.